United States saw what the United States was doing to the United States, the United States would invade the United States to liberate the United States from the United States!
Fuck the whole United States of America, including me.
Well, damn.
Every day I wake up in this fucking country and I realize the only way to fix it is to burn this bitch to the ground. I have no confidence in politicians, elections. It's all an illusion of something better that never is gonna come. We are slaves to a system that fucking hates us and despises us. We as humans have a God-given right to live happy, prosperous lives, free from control. This is hell, and we should let this motherfucker burn.
They're gonna put Jake on the damn domestic T-watch, you know? Ecclesiastes chapter 7, verse 7. It says, surely oppression maketh a wise man mad, and a gift destroyeth the heart. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. MAGA is turning against Trump, and it's insane. This is Isaiah 19:2, and it reads, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Okay, so this is clear prophecy of internal conflict, a nation versus itself. Okay?
Not proud of it, man enough to say it. I was one of those guys back in 2020, 2024, shit, even 2016 before I could vote. I was all for Trump. I was all for MAGA. I believed he was going to make America great again. I believed he was going to drain the swamp. I thought he was going to be different. He wasn't a career politician. And boy, was I wrong. My views didn't change. They still remain the same. I did fall for the deception, though, because I can't in good conscience support someone who's responsible for a pointless war where thousands of innocent lives are dying every single day. I can't support someone who mocked Christ on Easter. I sure as hell can't support someone who calls the people who want transparency on one of the most heinous and insidious acts in human history, the Epstein files, calls them liars and lunatics. He's probably a part of it himself. Can't support that. When it comes to politics...
Yeah, people are losing faith, man. All right? Verse 3, Isaiah 19:3, it says, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, right? That's what's happening now. Okay, NLT, the Egyptians will lose heart, and I will confuse their plans. You see that? So the the trust in Trump, the respect for authority and order is out the window now. Okay?
It's hard to even align myself with one of the parties because they're both being controlled by the same puppeteers at the top. So I was wrong. Not proud of it. Man enough to say it.
It started with just one post just a couple days ago where Trump basically called out all of the influencers, all the MAGA influencers, and pretty much turned himself against the entire fan base that he had. And of course, there are still a lot of people who still support the president. Let's not get it confused whatsoever. But now you have a huge subset of so many people across the entire United States that is now flipping on Trump.
Yeah. So again, people are turning against the leadership, man. All right, Isaiah 3:5. It says, and the people shall be oppressed, everyone by another, and everyone by his neighbor. The child shall behave himself proudly against the ancient, and the base against the honorable, right? So, I was just thinking about the fact that, total disorder in society is coming, all right? Nobody has respect for authority or order whatsoever, man. Okay? And these are all the indicators of the fall.
Pretty much kicking Trump out the MAGA movement, which is insane. Like 2026 is a year to be remembered, guys. But seriously, it is insane. You know what? Let's just let the videos play for themselves. So let's check this out.
I voted for Trump, but I am exhausted with the terrible PR from this administration on Iran, on Israel, on Epstein, on ICE. So many different issues that the American people are raising valid concerns.
It's not PR. It's the things that they're doing. It's the things that he actually wants to do. Y'all say that y'all want a transparent president or a upfront president that says whatever comes to mind. It's not PR. It's just what they want to do. I don't understand the confusion behind that.
And instead of getting direct, clear, consistent messaging from this administration on those concerns, we're getting memes and posts on Truth Social, many of which do not land well with the American people. Like, they certainly aren't swaying any people that might be on the fence. They're even going so far as to push a lot of people who voted for Trump away. And it's like, why does the administration not understand the gravity of this? Like, I don't even regret my vote. Like, from a policy perspective, I still think we're in a world's better position than we'd be under a Kamala administration. With that said, when this administration is not answering people's questions with hard evidence, then that gap gets filled by people who will answer the questions without hard evidence.
They just don't get it, do they? They just don't get it. How much suffering do we need to go through? How much how much do we need to go through? And I get it. People were tired of what happened during the Biden administration. There was a lot of pieces that fell apart, of course. 100%, I will admit. But we just result to the extreme. Are we saying that Kamala would have done a better job than President Joe Biden? I can't in good faith say that. I truly can't. I actually think she would have done a better job than President Biden. But at the end of the day,
Man, if Kamala was in office, this bitch would have been burnt down, man. Okay? People are actually lucky that she didn't get into office. All right? This shit would have been over.
I guess the world may never know. And this is the part about it, guys. Now, people want it changed so bad to the point that where, okay, you get your change. But your change is not for the better. It's actually for the worse, guys. Like, this right here, what we're seeing right now going on within the country, is going to last decades, if not centuries, to come for our kids and our kids. They're going to be looking at this in the history books as probably the worst president the United States has ever had. You know, like, that's the gravity of where we are within this. But at the same time, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk about MAGA turning against President Trump. Here are some of the massive influencers. I know I'm late to the party, but hey, let's check the video out.
A whole civilization will die tonight. That is the definition of genocide. He talks like a supervillain from a Marvel comic.
This is Power Plant and Bridge Day. Peace wins. War loses.
It is vile. It begins with a promise to use the U.S. military to destroy civilian infrastructure, which is to say to commit a war crime.
I saw this yesterday, and like Marjorie Greene and like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and everybody else, this is disturbing. It's actually sickening, but it's Easter Sunday. It's literally the holiest day of the year, and this is what you post? And this is when you realize Trump is evil.
Oh, Trump says, we love the Iranian people. We're going to make them live in hell. It's just so obvious slop from Trump on Easter.
And just announcing war crimes. We're declaring war on the civilian population. Man, dude, the recklessness of Donald Trump. We're not trying to start a holy war with 1.5 billion people.
Those people who are in direct contact with the president need to say, no, I'll resign.
How do we 25th Amendment his ass?
Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Nick Fuentes, Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. I mean, seriously. And they're calling for 25th Amendment, but that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. 25th Amendment is not going to happen, right? Like, we know the requirements. I know it sounds all cool and dandy and impeachment and all these different things. And yes, Trump is probably out of his mind at this point. I mean, I know he picked on President Biden, but at the same time, Trump isn't too far behind Biden. I mean, if we have 3 more years of this, or 2.5 more years of this, so who knows where he's going to be at the end of this term. But at the same time, I mean, seriously, my question is, what did people expect? Like, that is truly the question. What did people truly expect? I just don't get it. I don't get it. But anyways, let's dive deeper on this one here.
I voted for Trump.
Yeah, I campaigned for Trump.
It was
a lot.
When I look back on it, I was sold a straight lie.
You think?
Yeah. And I want no wars. I believe in Christ teaching peace and love and loving your neighbor. And in one breath, on Easter Sunday, we have pastors claiming similarity from Trump to Christ in regards to the beatings and the lies. And then the next day, he's threatening to blow up power plants and bridges hurting civilians. Like literally the most disgusting evil in a tweet I've ever read.
I totally agree.
From a president. And I'm like, wait, but our Christian leaders are still going to try to protect that and justify that.
How dare they?
And that's the thing about it, guys. You got to sit back and look at it. And, you know, people say, oh, well, you know, he said he was going to do something different. No new wars. He promised so much. And, you know, some of the things got delivered. So a lot of them did not get delivered. Right. And, you know, that's where people feel like they have been misled with.
Exactly. Hey, because you don't understand prophecy, man. Okay. There is no peace to the wicked. Right. Ezekiel 7:25. And it reads, destruction cometh, and they shall seek peace, and there should be none. Okay? Trump has been set in office for a purpose, man. Okay? He's going to bring in war. Okay? He's going to bring in the fall of America, man. That's his job. All right? This is what people don't get. All right? He's just like the rest of the so-called elected officials that they put in the office, man. They all have a purpose. They all have a job to do. All right? And they have to forward the agenda of the elites. Okay? This is what the people don't get. This is what they don't understand. As Jake was saying, he don't get it. Okay? Because you're not in tune in the spirit of prophecy, man. These things have to happen
with this administration. But at the same time, think about the first term that Trump had. Y'all remember with the conflict with Russia, and you know, he was already stirring that up with Putin, saying, oh, I'm the master negotiator, but he was trying to pull his weight. But guys, look at what is going on now. Did we not learn for the first time? Did we not see all the signs on the wall? It was written on the wall, and now Trump just basically has nothing to lose. So when you don't have anything to lose, he has no third term. Yes, he talked about the third term in 2028, all that. But truly, Trump has nothing to lose. He's just doing things now at this point to, I don't know what his motive, to be honest, at this point is. But at the same time, maybe it's money based. Maybe it's, you know, other things. I can't truly put my finger on it. But truly, yeah, he has no third term. It's no second term like how his first term was. So, you know, truly, it's just, I don't think he truly cares at this point, right? I think he cares, but not really. And I'm just making assumptions at this point. I mean, this is not rooting in facts or anything. It's just, I can't make it up.
Y'all can agree or disagree with me. That's fine. But I don't think I'm the only one who's getting really tired of the president just coming out on social media, disparaging, belittling, degrading some of what were his biggest cheerleaders. And it's just not a few. It's been a lot over the last 6 to 8 months. And it's not just...
Oh, I forgot the name, Joe Rogan.
Yeah, and everybody's turning on him, all right? Let's move on here, okay? Hey, like the scriptures say, a kingdom that's divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And what you think is going to happen next? All right, insurrections, right? Let me pull this real fast. This is the book of Luke 21 and verse 9. It says, but when ye shall hear of wars and commotions, be not terrified, for these things must first come to pass, but the end is not by and by. Verse 10, then said he unto them, nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, right? NLT, Luke 21 and 9. And when you hear of wars and insurrections, don't panic. Yes, these things must take place first, but the end won't follow immediately, right? Insurrection, all right, the definition. The act or instance of open revolt against civil authority or a constituted government, all right? That's what's going to happen, all right? As you see people lashing out online, talking about burn this bitch down, and they voted for Trump, and now they regret it, and, you know, his whole fan base turning against him. This is the next thing to go down. A rising against civil or political authority or established government, open and active opposition to the execution of law in a city or state. A rising in mass to oppose an enemy, right? A 2 Ezra 15. Okay. It's at the door. Okay, 2 Ezra 15. All right. civil conflict and internal chaos. All right, we're at the brink of it. 2 Ezra 15 and 14, and it reads, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and the destruction draweth nigh." Okay, it's close. "And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." All right, "For there should be sedition among men." All right, that's the insurrections, the riots, the uprisings. "For there should be sedition among men, and invading one another, they should not regard their kings nor princes. In the course of their actions shall stand in their power." Right. So people are ready, man. People are tired, angry. Okay, you got hatred and offenses increasing. Okay, and all these things are getting ready to boil over. You see? Let's move on here. Let's make some more points. You can watch the rest of this, but I want to go here just to add more onto the bad news, right? This headline reads from collapse.news. It says U.S.-Israeli war with Iran could plunge 32 million into poverty and trigger global economic shockwaves, right? We'll just read these bullet points here in this paragraph. It says a UN report warns a full-scale U.S.-Israel-Iran war could push 32 million people into poverty globally, with the heaviest burden on the poor. All right, and who's the poor? You tribes. It says import dependent nations far from the conflict. The economic shockwaves would stem from severe disruptions in energy, food, and trade, forcing vulnerable governments to make difficult fiscal trade-offs. The strategic Strait of Hormuz is central to the crisis, as Iran could block this vital oil transit route, spiking prices and threatening global energy and agricultural stability. The conflict has already caused thousands of deaths and displaced millions, with the UNDP cautioning that prolonged hostilities risk an unwinnable regional war. The report concludes the world cannot afford another war based on deception, as the global repercussions will be catastrophic. Okay? Our last point here. It says a full-scale war between the United States, Israel, and Iran would have catastrophic global economic repercussions, right? And it's all by design to bring in that chip. We keep warning you about it. The chip got to be close, man. This is going to be used to tank the economy. Pushing up to 32 million people into poverty across 162 countries. According to a new United Nations report, the analysis released by the UN Development Program warns that shockwaves from energy, food, and trade disruption will cause development in reverse, with the heaviest burden falling on the world's poorest nations far from the conflict zone. All right, and the rest reads on. Okay, it's going down. You see that? Let's grab 2 Ezra 16. Okay. 2 Ezra 16 and 18, the beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? All right. Let's go. Hey, all we can do in the spirit is brace for it, man. Okay. We pray that Yahweh Shemir Washai is with us. As he promised, his servants was going to eat. All right. He's going to provide that covering, that protection, Here's another one from newstarget.com. The American empire will end in poverty and despair. Man, let's read a little bit of that before we grab some more scriptures here. Matter of fact, let's summarize it real quick, make it even more easier for us to read. Bear with me. Let's see what we get from the summary. Right? So it says this selection outlines a perspective on the terminal decline of the United States, arguing that systematic corruption and economic mismanagement have set the nation on an inevitable path towards collapse. See? It says, the root causes of imperial decline, currency debasement. The author argues that endless money printing to fund foreign wars and domestic entitlements has destroyed the dollar's value, eroding public trust and purchasing power. Military overreach. Perpetual warfare is described as a racket that enriches elites while bankrupting the working class. Exactly. Crony capitalism. The current system is characterized as one where a financial elite thrives on manufactured money rather than tangible production. The cycle of societal collapse, economic despair, rising costs, and vaporized wages are predicted to lead to widespread poverty and social unrest. Okay, as we read in 2 Ezra 15. Authoritarian response. The author expects the government to meet protests with escalating tyranny rather than reform, creating a feedback loop of violence. All right. The rise of total, how you say that word? Totalitarianism. I beat it up. It says, in the wake of a collapse, the author predicts a desperate public will trade liberty for orderly oppression of socialism in centralized plenty. Yeah, order out of chaos. It's all by design. All right? And the rest reads on there. Okay, so you've been warned. You've been warned by the prophets first, man. Okay? Let's go to James chapter 5. All right. Misuse of riches, warning to the rich, right? James 5:1. And it reads, it says, go to now, ye rich men, weep and howl for your miseries that should come upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. All right, as we read in the article, it talked about the in the summary, all right, on how they're just printing money, all right, and they need these wars, to pretty much, fill their pockets and leave the working class in poverty, and that's really what it's all about anyway, because, the American dollar has no value anyway, all right, fake wages with no worth, okay, all this printing money for what? To keep the people further in debt. Okay. As we learn, the Federal Reserve was set up to pretty much get over on the people. All right. People are being ripped off. All right. And like you saw in the beginning, in the intro, you had Jake, and, a lot of people feel like him. All right. They're ready to just, straight up, tear this shit down. It says, James 5:2, your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. It says, your gold and silver is cankered, and the rust of them shall be a witness against you, and shall eat your flesh as it were fire. You have heaped treasure together for the last days. All right, this is it, man. Okay, this thing is getting ready to go. Okay? It says, verse 4, James 5:4, behold, the hires of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. All right, taxes. Okay, everything, man. Oppression. It says, crieth, and the cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, man. The cries of the Lord's people. All right, and you can apply this as well to the people of this land. Okay, because what's going on is that people feel like, they're being cheated out. All of this economic pressure is fueling the anger of the people. All right, so you got the rich oppressing the poor, and this is going to continue to fuel that unrest and rage amongst these people, man. All right, so you're going to have people lashing out, and that's the spirit that the Lord is rising up. You see? So let's check out a little bit more here. This is from Fox News. Trump to Israel, enough is enough. Let's listen to this.
Sir, retired Vice Admiral Mark Fox with us now, former Deputy Commander of CENTCOM. Sir, good to have you back, and good morning to you. This story is happening in real time. I want to let you know what the President sent out 4 minutes ago on Truth. Here we go. The USA will get all nuclear dust created by our great B-2 bombers. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. This deal is in no way subject to Lebanon either, but the U.S. will separately work with Lebanon and deal with the Hezbollah, as he describes it, Hezbollah situation in an appropriate manner. Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. Admiral, good morning to you. Go ahead and size it up. What do you think's moving here and why?
Well, there are a lot of moving pieces here, Bill. I think the key thing to focus on is the fact that the Iranian economy is driven by revenue from oil. And when their oil when we enforced the blockade, then they ceased receiving the vast majority of the money that they've used to fuel their economy, but also to fuel their proxies and to build their rockets and to shoot their neighbors. So this is hard, real military action that creates economic stress on the Iranian regime.
Admiral Fox, you know, I'm just curious what you think about how we continue to keep the Strait safe, because if it reopens, obviously, you're going to have a lot of transit there. The president has said we're not going anywhere. Our ships are staying there. We have about 15 ships in the region. You know, it just brings to mind that the UK and France said, oh, once you get this whole thing settled, we'll send over some ships there to help you out to hold it. How concerned are you about the ongoing safety of the Strait and the potential for terrorism along the lines of the USS Cole that we saw years ago?
Well, the very thing that creates the geography that makes the Strait of Hormuz a choke point also makes it a very easy thing to blockade, in that this is really driven by intelligence and surveillance and knowing where the Iranian vessels are. And so even though we've only got relatively small number of ships, 15 or so, the geography of it funnels it down. This is up to the Iranians now as to whether or not they want to function like a real government, or if they're going to be a pariah state. I go back to my earlier point that as long as we are stepping on their lifeline of oil, I think they'll be a lot more compliant. They've demonstrated that they were recalcitrant, they're uncooperative, they're willing to shoot at their neighbors. But in this particular case, if they don't have any oil to export, then they're not making any money. So we're going to have to see. There's definitely potential for terror type of activity. I would keep my eye on the Houthis over there in the Red Sea, because that would be something that I would expect perhaps that the Iranians would try to do another asymmetric attempt to influence our actions.
Sir, thanks for coming on. We're asking you to react to this stuff in real time, and we'll see what more we get throughout the hour. Mark Fox, thank you, Admiral.
Yeah, so let's just see what happens, all right? Again, 32 million into poverty and trigger global economic shockwaves, man. So here we go. Shalom.